I played 30 days of Core Keeper, and boy, it's been a journey. I've built a base, upgraded my weapons to defeat monsters, got lost deep in the caves, defeat bosses, and many more. This is what happened during my 30 days adventure in Core Keeper. I started my adventure by customizing my character like a low budget elf, since I'm doing this playthrough during Christmas. I was torn between becoming a ranger or a mage, but decided to become a ranger for this playthrough. At this point in time, I had no idea whatever class I picked will have little to no impact to how the game plays out as we move away from the early game. Day 1 started with me venturing in the forest with a group of adventurers, where I chanced upon this shiny object and decided to touch it. As I touched it, I got teleported deep into the underground, where I was left with nothing but a bow and 3 cans of food. I started my adventure by gathering some wood, built some torches so that I can light up the area, and a workbench to start crafting some necessities for my journey. I then crafted a set of wooden armor to pair it with my bow. I felt like a pumpkin based off how the entire outfit looks like. I also interacted with this strange looking statue, which at that point in time I had no idea what it was meant for. I decided to craft everything that I felt would be vital for our survival before we head out exploring, but for some reason I was not able to find the pickaxe to craft, so I actually used my torch to break the dirt blocks. Silly me. It didn't take long for me to find out how to craft the pickaxe. I also met my first enemy, a dildo looking creature with a Santa Claus hat. I took them out with my bow and continued gathering more resources. This is where I discovered copper ores. I also noticed that ores will appear with a shiny animation on the screen, and I also used this chance to expand my base a little with my pickaxe. I then crafted a furnace to help me do smelting with the copper ores that I've obtained, and crafted a cooking pot so that we will not starve to death. I decided to build a small farm to have some source of food on day 2. I tried using the shovel to dig the ground, but realized it actually removes the entire block. You can tell I'm not the brightest of person. It didn't take me long to realize that the hole was what I needed, and proceeded to hold the ground before planting the seeds on them. I also planted a chest by our farm to store any seeds and fruits that we've grown. I needed a watering can to water my plants, but it required 4 copper bars, so I went on a mini adventure to obtain them. This is where I chanced upon a minecart, which had a chest with 12 copper bars. There was also a smelter and a railway maker there, but I was too oblivious to notice them. I tried to continue exploring, but my pickaxe broke, so I decided to head back and make do with what I have. This allowed me to craft a watering can so that I can water my crops. I also crafted a repair bench to fix my pickaxe. This is when I realized repairing equipment uses scrap parts, and collecting them will be important in the future. I also realized that salvaging unused equipment also gives us scrap parts, so that can be a source of scrap parts if required. Day 3 started off with some exploration, where I chanced upon this block that was pulsing red as I swung my pickaxe on it. I was not aware that it was a dynamite, and let out a wail as it exploded. Warning, please turn the volume down a little. If my wail scared you, I'm so sorry. Oh! What the f just happened? I also got jump scared by this big mushroom that popped out of nowhere. Thankfully, I managed to dodge him in time. It took a while, but I managed to finish him off. As I ventured on, I found a biome that looked like a farm. There were friendly animals there. Well, most of them at least. I tried feeding them some tall meadow grass, but sadly, I couldn't feed them. Apparently, I didn't learn from my lesson previously and walked straight into a dynamite again. Warning again, please turn down your volume a little. If my wail scared you, I'm so sorry again. Ooh! Bro, this is the second time this has happened. With 2 jump scares in a short period, I decided to call it a day and head back to base. My crops had grown when I came back, so I decided to harvest them more before calling it a day. I started day 4 by cooking more mushroom soup from all the mushrooms that I have gathered, smelted some copper ores, harvested and planted new crops, and crafted a new chest to store some of the loot that I have obtained. I decided to upgrade my workbench to a copper workbench, and salvaging the old workbench because we still have access to it within the copper workbench. I proceeded to craft a copper pickaxe for myself to help myself in future adventures. I also held a broken core idol that I found during my exploration because I don't really know what it does at the time. I tried placing them into the statues, but it didn't work as well. I wanted to head out to find for some slime so that I can craft myself a lantern, but felt some form of stomping effect. Curious, I decided to try and locate where the stomping was from. As I headed deeper into the caves, I finally found what was making everything tremble. A giant slime which I can presume would be a boss. I decided to head back and prepare myself for my first ever boss fight in Core Keeper, with the first order of business being to craft our small lantern. Day 5 I got completely distracted with the preparation for the boss fight, as I crafted the new anvil on day 5 to upgrade my armor. But I was short of copper bars. Instead of heading out to mine them, I proceeded to add an electronics table to the base, which I had zero clue on how each of those items work. I then crafted a fishing rod and decided to attempt fishing in Core Keeper. Safe to say I'm not a big fan of fishing in real life and in Core Keeper. I finally got to mining some coppers in day 6, allowing me to craft a full copper armor set before our fight with the giant slime. While mining for copper ores, I found this small little hut that was locked. I tried swinging my pickaxe on it, but it was too weak. I then used the remaining time of day 6 to gather some mushrooms to make more mushroom soup, and reharvested our crops to ensure we have a good supply of each of them. Some spike slimes also managed to enter my base, so I had to properly set up the spike traps as defense to ensure that never happens again. Day number 7. I was prepared. I headed to the giant slime named Glurch, the Abominous Cares, for my first attempt at conquering him. The fight was going well, ensuring that I maintained a safe distance as it tried to squish me into pudding. I even said this while fighting the boss.
This is not a hard boss actually.
However, as I knocked him down to a quarter HP, Glurch started going crazy as he turned red and started jumping around at a much quicker rate, leading to my demise.
It's hard because of the ice.
I probably jinxed it when I said this boss is easy. Uncontented with the results, I headed straight back to Glurch's lair for my second attempt at him. This time, I had a better approach. I decided to clear all of the slimes around to ensure that this fight would not get interrupted by these pesky little things. With most of the slimes cleared, I took a deep breath and shot an arrow towards Glurch. The second attempt to defeat Glurch has started. For some reason, I thought it would have been a good idea to start digging out some of the ice on the floor during the fight rather than before the fight. This eventually led to our demise as the Glurch squished us for the second time. Learning from my mistakes, I crafted a copper hole to remove the ice before engaging Glurch. As I'm doing the final touches to remove the snow around Glurch, I accidentally caught its attention and it became aggressive, kickstarting our third attempt. The idea to remove the ice before the fight was a good one, as it allowed me to run around Glurch easily. However, as the fight went on, more ice started to surface around the battleground. It was very close, but I managed to take it down after our third try.
Oh my god. Oh, that's alright.
A random NPC spawned as Glurch was defeated. He was selling things for a currency used in the underground called Ancient Coin. It also dropped a chest that consists of a sticky staff, an apprentice hat, a ring that gave me 5% dodge chance, and a slime oil which will allow me to spawn an NPC in my base if I were to create a room for them. I also spotted this strange looking area while fighting Glurch earlier and decided to check it out. It was a waypoint that allowed me to teleport to other waypoints. With so much that has happened, I teleported back to base, calling it a day for day 7.
Nice.
I wanted a day to relax after the boss fight, so I spent the next 2 days harvesting my crops and created a new area solely to generate wood with the root seeds. I also tested out the sticky stuff on a few monsters and I actually liked it. Hence, I decided to use it as my primary weapon until I find something better. I initially wanted to create a new room so that the NPC can live with us, but I completely forgot about it after building the walls. I wasn't lying when I said I was a forgetful person. Instead, I started to do some exploration from the waypoint we previously discovered. I also found myself a giant mushroom that gave me an additional 25 max HP when eaten. I finally remembered that I was in the middle of building the base to move the NPC in. Shortly after, the bearded NPC that I saw earlier popped up. This allowed me to finally get some ancient coins by selling valuables to him. I also crafted an egg incubator, but I had no egg at the moment. The only reason I built it was because I was curious. I spent day 11 exploring the map again because I was unsure on what needed to be done to progress through the game, allowing me to chance upon a new biome called the Forgotten Ruins. The monsters here were definitely more intimidating. One of them could shoot fireballs out that does burn damage, one was dressed as an Eskimo wielding a pickaxe, and the other was cosplaying as a chef or something. I don't even know. As I was dealing with these monsters, a big random spider appeared.
I hear some random sound. What the? Whoa, what the f?
I tried chasing it, but it was too fast. I also discovered iron ore while navigating through the path that the big spider created. I decided to head back to the base to try to use the egg incubator with one of the eggs that I found. However, it did not work. I saw a lightning sign there and I assumed it needed electricity. I then crafted a power generator and joined it to the egg incubator using wires. This caused the egg incubator to light up, which meant the start of its incubation process. Honestly, day 12 to 19 was very boring, because I couldn't find where the next boss I was supposed to face. So it was mainly me exploring the map, finding for the boss and waypoints, and also upgrading my base. Let's take this as a filler arc, and let me talk you through the highlights of these 8 days. I discovered the clay caves, where I found an abundance of tin ores. I obtained a free pickaxe from one of the Eskimos while waking him up from his slumber. I almost got squished by the giant spider again. I found my first summoning book that summons a bat. I actually got squished by the giant spider this time, but thankfully I survived. My base actually got infiltrated by slimes again. I guess the defense I set up previously did not work. I upgraded from a copper workbench to a tin workbench. I hatched my egg and it gave me a lovely bird. I created a new room to add the seasonal NPC into our base. I vented my frustration for not being able to progress on an innocent cow. I found this green looking shell which I still have no idea what it is. I also managed to get my hands on a soaring headgear and a soaring pants, making myself one step closer to becoming a wizard. I found a musical instrument called ocarina. I crafted an iron anvil, but did not actually craft anything from it, a waste of my materials. I crafted an automation table, which allowed me to build drills and conveyor belts which are vital for automation later. I tested the drill on the copper ore boulder that is located right beside my base, to which I liked the results and did the same for the next copper ore boulder. I found a broken handle which I only realized at the time of making this video that it is used to build an OP weapon. I honestly can't remember if I threw it away. I found this open area space filled with monsters which I thought would aid me in finding the next boss, but I was wrong. Okay, that was a long summary, but now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump back to our main storyline, shall we? On day 20, I finally realized that I could put the Glurch eye crystal that I obtained from slaying Glurch into the statue. I can't remember if I googled this or I just randomly tried because I was bored. I'm just going to go with the latter. I proceeded to craft the scanner for the second boss, Gorm the Devourer. After I used the scanner, I realized that the second boss has been with me all this while. It was the giant spider looking creature that has been running in circles. After being deprived of a boss fight for 9 days, I ran down the axis of Gorm's path to take him on. However, Gorm was moving at a speed too fast for me and my weapon to catch up.
Bro, chase him, chase him. Wow, how am I going to kill this guy?
I thought I could slowly chip his HP down, but I found out that he heals after attempting to catch him for the second time. Understanding that this would be a waste of my time if I continue attempting to catch him with my current weapons, I ran down the runway of shame to head back to base, with the plan to take Gorm down in the future. Day 21, I tried to slot a giant slime summoning item into the crystal, but I failed. I also thought crafting the items from the statues were free.
Oh, they are for free.
Well, I did mention in day 2 I wasn't the brightest of person. Thankfully, it didn't take me long to realize that I needed resources for them.
To make those things, I actually need resources.
I realized that Gorm would be challenging for me to defeat with the items that I have now, and decided to move on to the next boss first, Malugaz the Corrupted. I crafted its scanner and proceeded to use it, only to find out that he's located quite a distance away from my base. I headed towards the general direction of Malugaz with my new slime sword, which I felt was kinda underwhelming as compared to the staff or bow. I almost got squashed by Gorm again, but I was lucky that there was a tile that he couldn't reach. I also found a Shaman Skull that does 11 burning damage on hit, and I decided to replace it with my old headgear. As I mined closer to Malugaz, I mined onto something that was too difficult for me to mine, and decided to stick to the strong wall to find where the entrance is. This took a lot longer than I thought, to the point where my pickaxe broke. As I was heading back to repair my pickaxe, I saw Gorm again and decided to cheekily poke him. Well, that came with a price. On the bright side, at least I got to base quickly. On day 22, I did nothing much actually. I just repaired my pickaxe and carried on with my quest to find Malugaz. It was a lot of mining and fending off enemies, but after a long time of mining, I managed to find a waypoint, which was good news since my pickaxe durability was low. I also managed to find the entrance of Malugaz's maze, south of the waypoint, allowing me to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Day 23, I dropped all of my loot back in base and made my way into Malugaz's maze. I found many chests along the way, but I just could not find the entrance to Malugaz. You can see that I've searched everywhere. Well, almost everywhere. It took me the entirety of day 24 to locate the entrance of Malugaz. It was located at this small dark corner, which I missed multiple times while exploring the dungeon. I walked into his lair expecting to see Malugaz standing there waiting for me, but it was empty. I was confused. I tried breaking the boxes and blocks inside, lighting the room up with torches, but all of them did not work. I was now going to spend another 8 days wandering around aimlessly, so I decided to do a quick Google search and found out that I would require a skull of the corrupted shaman. This can be crafted with 5 pieces of the crystal skull shard. The first thing I did in day 25 was to craft the skull of the corrupted shaman. It was lucky that I had 45 crystal skull shards from exploring Malugaz maze. I instantly head back to find Malugaz and was determined to take him down first try. The first thing I did was to notice the attack patterns of Malugaz. He had 3 spells. The first was fire coming out from the floor, the second was him shooting a fireball from his hands, and lastly his ability to teleport around the map. Him being able to teleport around the map wasn't that much of an issue for me, but having to watch the fireballs coming out from his hands and the fire pits on the floor was very difficult. It was without a doubt that I got wrecked on my first attempt.
No.
I didn't waste any time after my first failed attempt and went back for my second attempt. I lit up the arena once more before summoning Malugaz for my second try. Second run actually went pretty well as I brought a hand mortar with me to do some extra damage, but the burning damage that comes from the fireball and the fire pits was still an issue for me. After many rounds of kiting and dodging of massive fire meatballs being thrown at my face, I managed to chip Malugaz's HP down to 0. What I didn't expect here was this.
Nice. Nice. Oh, what the fuck was it?
Yes, I didn't expect that he had a second phase, where he literally turned into Saiyan mode and slamming the ground. It didn't take me long before he mowed me into the ground as I failed my second attempt. After dying again and again and again, I decided to do one last run before hopping off. The battle started off well, with me chipping almost a quarter of his HP without getting hit at all. I also had a realization that would change the entire course of this battle.
I cannot get hit by the fireball. I can get burned, but I cannot get hit by him.
For anyone who couldn't hear that, I just have to avoid the fireballs because the fire pits do not do as much damage as compared to the fireballs. I also realized that I had an offhand item that allows me to teleport away from an enemy, which I got from one of the many explorations that I've done previously. I started to use it during the battle when Malugaz teleports right beside me. I then managed to take down the first phase of Malugaz with a healthy amount of HP left. Knowing what's next, I sat up from my gaming chair and turned it up a notch. I was okay to take the burn damage on the floor, but I just could not get punched by him. I also realized that he has a 1 second animation before slamming the floor, which I took advantage of. After what felt like hours, I finally managed to defeat Malugaz. Yes, bow down to me, little peasant. I managed to get quite a bit of loot from Malugaz, but because I accidentally broke the chest, I wasn't really too sure what I got. Oops. What I do know is that I got myself a fireball staff, which I instantly chose to be my next weapon of choice. I headed back to base and placed the stolen crystal heart that Malugaz dropped into the statue, making it 2 out of the 3 statues being lit up before calling it a day. I spent the next 2 days taking a break from such an exhausting fight, using it to clean up our base a little. I started off day 26 by segmenting my equipments into classifications like swordsman, archer, wizard or necromancer. I realized that Malugaz also dropped the summoning book, which I used to replace my old one. I sold any duplicate equipments I had to the NPC, which at this point in time, I'm still wondering if it was more worth it for me to just scrap it for scrap parts. I created a trophy room to store any of the figurines that I've obtained through my journey, with the first figurine being Malugaz to remind myself of the pain that I have been through. I also crafted an ancient hologram pod that is said to produce scanners for future bosses. Day 27, I broke down one of the entrances to my base and transformed it into an area to run any processors that requires an electric generator. I shifted my egg incubator to the new area and then built a table saw to see what it does, to which I realized it only helps create planks of different colors. I also created a railway forge thinking that it will require electricity, but realized it can work just fine without it. I decided to move my working area to where the copper ore boulders are just for neatness. This meant that my smelters, workbench and most things that requires ores and bars will be placed there. Lastly, I created a separate section for my repair station next to where all my equipments are. This was a mistake, and it can be seen later further into the playthrough. On day 28, I had a brilliant idea of placing spike traps along the path Gorm takes so that it will kill itself. But the thought of creating that many spike traps and the resources that it will take me just irks me. So I did what any sensible man would do. Man-fight it. I swung my fire staff at it and realized it did a significant amount of damage. As I continued throwing fireballs at it, it let out a loud growl and stopped. These commence our battle with Gorm the Devourer. Gorm wasn't that difficult to take out honestly, but it was annoying because I kept running out of mana to throw fireballs at it. Thankfully, I had my hand mortar to do some damage while regenerating my mana. It wasn't long before he let out a loud screech and then exploded. This is the first time I defeated a boss on my first try. It dropped a few things, but things that caught my eye was the arcane staff, a stomach bag that increases my inventory slots, and an item that brings a new NPC into my base. I replaced my old bag with the new stomach bag and then headed back to base. I started day 29 by inserting the last crystal into the statue, causing the statue in the middle to light up brighter. I tried investigating it, but silly me clicked on the waypoint instead of the statue and thought that nothing had changed. I also created a new room to occupy the new NPC that sells summoning idols for us to fight bosses. I tried the arcane staff and actually liked it, and decided to use it as my main weapon over the fireball. At the time of writing this, I'm wondering if it was a mistake or not. I decided to scan for Azios the Sky Titan since I had the resources, and found out that he's very far away from our base. Curious to see the Sky Titan himself, I decided it's time to venture further out to taste what the outside world has to offer. I repaired my weapons, reinforced my pickaxe so that I can mine longer, checked my bearings one last time before heading southwest to look for Azios the Sky Titan. But that, my friends, is a story for another day.